Welcome to the Press Start Podcast, Press Start Australia's weekly video game discussion podcast. I'm your host, Ewan, joined today by my fellow gamers and co-hosts, Brody.
Hello.
Shannon.
Hello.
And James.
Hello.
Today on the show, we're going to be talking about our reviews of Star Wars Outlaws and Concord, Black Myth, Wukong's insane popularity, and the latest on Metal Gear Solid Delta, Snake Eater and Avowed. I'm first eager to start with Star Wars Outlaws, though, if I may. I think I'm maybe the only one of the group that's not played it yet. Is that right? Quick show of hands. Everyone's nodding. Wonderful. James, perhaps we start with you. You didn't review the game. Neither of us did. I was going to do that first. Our review is live, where James Wood gave the game a 6 out of 10, saying it marks an impressive step forward for depictions of the galaxy in video games, but fails to provide players with a compelling reason to explore it. James, back to you. You've played it. What was your feeling of the game? How closely does that align with what James Wood ended up reviewing the game as?
My feelings don't align, but I can see where James is coming from. And I have been thinking about this for a while, in terms of, I feel like obviously it hasn't reviewed as well as I think Ubisoft probably would have wanted.
Sure.
And this is obviously I promise this is no dig at James or anyone else, but I genuinely think...
hey, this is going to be a common thread of today. We're all different people here. Our reviews all...
No, I know.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, I don't think this game plays well if you're trying to hit a deadline. And Ubisoft only gave it to us, a week before. So, I just feel
5 days, I think.
Probably even less, yeah. And I think its strengths are more obvious when you kind of just live in the world. You're not trying to get through the story, which, obviously there's something to be said that probably the side content is more interesting than the story, in my opinion. But, I don't know if it, quite plays as well if you were kind of not able to take your time with it, which is a challenge with, a lot of games for sure. But I think with this game in particular, just with the way everything is, organically doled out to you, it definitely plays better if you take it slow. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm kind of almost happy I didn't have to review it, under such tense time restraints. But yeah, I think it's pretty solid. I can see why, especially with all the stealth and stuff. That can definitely turn a lot of people off. It's a very stealth heavy game. I would say it's between Assassin's Creed and Dishonored. It's in the middle. If you're gonna say compare it to any other game stealth wise.
Yeah.
And then there's obviously some bugs. I've had a few. Nothing disastrous or game ruining. It's all just cutscene related stuff. But yeah, there's some visual issues as well. But I think they do a really good job of capturing the feel of Star Wars. And I was meant to play another game today, and I just booted up Outlaws to do a few missions, and I ended up playing it all day. So I think that says something too. There's something to even just being in space and exploring all of that is quite fun.
Yeah, I must admit my excitement levels haven't been dampened. I haven't played any of it yet. My time has been busy spent with Concord, which we'll get to in a moment. That being said, I'm still excited to kind of live out the scoundrel sort of fantasy, I suppose. It's a bit of a different direction for a Star Wars game. So yeah, for those reasons, I'm excited to jump in, and I'm pleased to hear you say that you're still enjoying it. Shannon, I was listening to you play it the other day, though, as I was playing Concord. You were busy playing Star Wars. You seemed pretty frustrated by those stealth sections.
Yeah, I just think they are pretty unforgiving, especially at the start of the game. You can fail quite a lot. As James said, it is down to, rushing through it, and I'm just not a stealth person, and there is no forgiveness at all if you're not a stealth person. I don't know if James can... All the stealth segments I've played, you have to stealth, and if you get caught at any point, some of them, which are quite lengthy, you go back to the start and do it all again. And that is just not for me. But then when I get out into the open areas and can explore and do side missions and stuff, it's fantastic. I love it. I can see the vision. It's not like any other Star Wars game that I've played, but then the stealth sections in particular, James is better than me to talk about if they're good or not from a stealth point of view, but I think a lot of people, particularly at the start, will be frustrated by it. Like, I was spending like 20 to 30 goes at it, and I don't know if that's the same as you get more abilities and things, but it was pretty frustrating. And again, James would be better than me to talk about it, but it felt like you had to do it in an extremely specific way, or you would fail and go back to the start. And I'm just not about that life. Like, I'm about stealth, and then if you get caught, you just guns blazing, whatever. But it felt very, unforgiving and not fun.
What does that look like? Is that like a hard cut, and it's like, oh, you've alerted the stormtroopers or whatever, and they're just like,
it depends on the mission. So like some mission, it might be like, so the mission might be to, I don't know, find something without the base getting locked down, and then if the alarm goes off, it's like base locked down, and then it just like goes back to the beginning of that section. There's a lot of areas in the opening planet where you need to be stealthy, but if you get your gang affiliation up enough, they become friendly areas. So once again, I think it's a game where like the more time you spend with it, and the more of those areas become friendly, it does become a little bit more forgiving. But I would say like Avatar. I said this about Avatar as well. I think the opening to this game is very. Like it asks a lot.
It's the worst parts of the game.
Yeah,
I think.
I think it does not put its best foot forward first, which is like kind of important, especially with like a game that's trying to appeal to like a very big demographic. And yeah, I don't know about it being. I feel like Nyx does a lot to kind of remedy all the issues that I have with the stealth. Like I feel like you can really game the system a bit with Nyx. Like you can distract everyone like all the time. And you've got your little silence blaster, and then obviously you unlock more shit as time goes by. But at the beginning, like I feel like you're really.
I will say I don't feel like it does a great job of teaching you anything though. Like I don't know if I just wasn't paying attention, but I don't feel like it shows you.
I mean, I mean,
I'm not one to judge in that regard, Shannon.
Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like
I feel like it says hold this button to see all the Nyx actions, and you can kind of.
Or maybe my game was glitching because I feel like there was nothing at any point. Right. Like there was never, like from the start, I was not under. Like I kind of got that you had to use Nyx to get key cards and stuff, but it never, like it didn't feel like a tutorial at all.
I can foresee it like maybe throwing things at you a bit too fast. I'm trying to help you out here somehow.
The stealth bits are crap. I don't care.
Yeah. Brody, what's your experience been with the game so far?
I don't know if they're crap. Anyway, go Brody.
It's Brody's turn.
Yeah. I've played for maybe 3.5 hours or something so far, and yeah, so I mean, I haven't had a wide breadth of experience, and I haven't really got to any points where I feel like I'm doing the same stuff over and over again just yet. So, I mean, 10 hours down the track, I might have the same gripes as a lot of people, perhaps, but I don't know. I'm really liking it so far. Like, it's fairly inoffensive in all its systems. Like, I feel like it's not markedly bad. Like, I've heard people describe like all like the shooting and the stealth as like neutered versions of those mechanics, like as though they'd play shotgun to another better mechanic. That was like kind of funny today. That was their whole vibe. But I don't know. I think it's solid enough for what it is. Like nothing is, groundbreaking, but I feel like it does what it does well enough. Like the shooting is satisfying. I don't mind the speeder bike stuff. I was a bit frustrated. I was talking to Shannon and James today. Like I didn't realize you couldn't shoot off it freely. Like it was a motorbike in GTA, but I also didn't realize that you could just use this ability that you get pretty early on. So that's on me. But yeah, everything. It's similar to how I felt about the Jedi games as well. Like it's just one thing it does nail is like the feel and tone of Star Wars. Like even like the the music swells and stuff like that. It's like it definitely it is got a lot of that fan service, which I think fans of Star Wars...
I did really like the music throughout everything I've played so far.
Yeah, I think the music's been great. Hard for me to make any judgment on how the story's sort of going at this point, but I'm mildly invested, so I'm hoping it sort of holds my attention. But I think off the first few hours, like I'm enjoying it, but I think what everyone says about the first hour is probably right, in that it doesn't necessarily put its best foot forward. Like I think it's a bit of a slow start, and I guess with Star Wars historically, as it's all like Jedi stories, you're used to something a bit more explosive and exciting, I suppose. But yeah, Yeah, a bit more of a slower sort of approach in this game, which I didn't entirely expect to be quite as stealthy. But don't have an issue with that necessarily either. Like James says, you can get away with a lot through Nyx. Like even if you're bad at stealth, like literally he is god mode basically. Like I feel like he can't get caught. Like he just goes through and just does what he fucking wants. So yeah, but anyway, not bad. I'm liking it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like with a game like Star Wars Outlaws, it's kind of an easy game to kind of imagine what it could be and like see so much potential there. Like you're talking about the speeder bike there, remind me of seeing some of that gameplay footage ahead of its launch and thinking, wow, this looks like it could be an almost like Red Dead-esque sort of like sci-fi western, in which you're just kind of like rolling about, kind of, you know, living this sort of morally ambiguous life. I think someone maybe was in the game's daily live chat today as well, like kind of sounded out the idea of it being like a cyberpunk sort of esque game set on Coruscant too, in those kind of like real neon filled streets that you kind of see glimpses of in the prequels. Like that could be really cool too, but it doesn't sound like this game's gonna lived up to any of those kind of grand visions.
It is a bizarre choice to me that there's no like Coruscant or like Nar Shaddaa or like any like city like kind of setting.
Yeah.
Even if they just did, because for one of the planets, it is very much just almost like you're just like kind of sneaking around the streets and stuff. It's not so much a big open world. So like even if they had that kind of gameplay in a city or something, I'm really shocked that there's nothing like that here. Maybe there's like a secret surprise sixth planet, but I don't think there is. But yeah, like I know what you mean, but I think there's just like these moments, like especially when you're in space. Like I didn't think I'd like the space stuff as much, but when you like go and say steal some cargo from like an Imperial ship, but then you get seen by TIE fighters, then you're in this dogfight, and then it's just too much. So you like quickly try to find a blank spot to hyperdrive to another planet just to get away from. Do you know what I mean? Like it's all of this really cool, tense kind of Star Warsy stuff. Yeah,
how's the story? Are you kind of engaged in the characters and the narrative that's
I
playing
don't.
out?
Like, yeah.
Damn it.
I'm not like to be clear though. Like I'm not a Star Wars person. Like
Sure.
I don't. I have been, but I'm not anymore. It's just going. It's very like it almost reminds me a little bit of Mass Effect 2, where you're like trying to just find the best team to do this ultimate heist at the end, which I hear isn't that ultimate. But yeah, like it's not as the story. I'm not enjoying it for the story at this. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm just really enjoying the idea of being this like diet Han Solo character.
Are you saying, just so I'm clear, are you saying that in terms of its premise, it's like Mass Effect, or you didn't like Mass Effect the same way? Like you also don't like Mass Effect?
No. I'm saying I just said it's similar to Mass Effect 2, like the structure of the story.
Yeah, it was on the back of you saying like, you didn't like it though, so I was concerned you didn't like Mass Effect. So I was like, what? No,
of course not. That's like blasphemy.
I was
like
surprised.
anyone with good
anyway,
taste. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is like I don't know. There's not like a lot of like obviously in Mass Effect you've got that big like Reaper threat looming. This is very small scale compared to say the Jedi games. Like it's just a very like she just wants to get some cool shit from a vault, basically.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I'm on the record being a big fan of Jedi Survivor, especially, as we all infamously know. And I never expected this game to be as good as that. I may be surprised it's not seemingly got as close as I thought it could have done.
I think the open world is better.
Yeah, the open world is better, and I think the combat in Survivor is better.
Yeah, like I think it's pretty hard. I agree. Like I think Survivor definitely has better combat, but the open world exploration discovery kind of situation is better in this Outlaws.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Well, no doubt we'll get another opportunity to talk about it once we all spend some more time with it. And I get to finally jump in myself as well. Of course, I've not been able to do that just yet because I've been busy playing Concord, and I published the review for that on the website today, where I gave it a 7.5 out of 10, and said it gets the fundamentals right with unique characters, strong art direction, and tightly designed combat, making thrilling matches with crew bonuses, adding a welcome extra level of strategy, but uninteresting progression, unrealized storytelling potential, and a lack of personality holds it back. James Brody, have you played any Concord as of yet? Are you interested in giving it a go?
I reckon
still?
I've got 2 hours clocked max at this stage.
I'd probably have 1 hour clocked. I've played two matches.
Right. Can you see yourself going back to it, or has that been enough of a taste for you?
I don't know. Like, I'm
Okay.
Yeah, I'm interested enough. I'm not a very big competitive shooter sort of guy. Like, if I were to play a competitive shooter, I guess it would be a hero shooter, but I don't know if this is my cup of tea necessarily. I think there are a few things I don't like about it. Like we were talking in the pre-show, like I don't think some of the game modes are necessarily conducive to what it's trying to do with its characters and its, the match bonuses that you were talking about. But like I feel like if they added like a payload mode like Overwatch, I feel like that would be probably more something I could see myself getting around. But I do like the Galaxy Guide. I think the way it does that is quite nice. I think it reminded me a bit of like Destiny in that sense though, whereas like you got to dig in and sort of find the story buried all in there. But I can't agree with the characters though. Like I think there's rock hard Temu generic as they get. But I like Itzy though. It's
I think that's my kind of key annoyance at this sort of stage. Like so much kind of touted about like the storytelling of the game, the weekly vignettes and all that. Granted, like it's only the first week. We've only had one vignette that's kind of like, there's like an opening cutscene that kind of sets up the idea of like free gunners and the Galactic Guide and all this. And then you kind of get one vignette, the weekly vignette. I think another one will be coming out tomorrow, if I recall. But yeah, even like with that, like you don't really get a lot of the characters and the sort of personality. They all look quite cool, but unless you're in the Galactic Guide and you're just reading the text that's kind of in there, you're not getting the kind of backstory behind these characters or kind of much about them. There's very little kind of like in-game dialogue. The sort of voice line you get upon selecting each character is the same every time. Things like that, I just feel like missed opportunities to kind of flesh out the world a little bit more. Like I've even made the comparison previously, like Titanfall I thought was kind of cool in that, there was this story that kind of set up the multiplayer matches that you had, and like you would kind of drop in on the map and there'd be some sort of explanation as you're doing so as to like why you're there and what the battle is, and like you're not really given any explanation for like each battle other than a rival gang is challenging you. And in the Galactic Guide there's like a mention that it's protocol that we don't fight each other in space, which explains that there's no dogfights in any of these like lanes that they occupy. It's only like when you're down on the planet and stuff. Like it all just seems like storytelling for convenience's sake rather than actually like creating something terribly compelling. Anyhow, I'm already going on an aside. James, you've spent a little bit of time with the game. Can you see yourself going back to it?
No, but I think it's no. Like I'm not. I hate the pile on with this game. Like it really fucking annoys me. Like every game gets it now, but I feel like this game especially. It's like so unwarranted. I think it's good. Like I don't think it's bad by any means. I just think like for me, like I'm playing this and I used to play Overwatch a lot. And I'm just like, what does this game do like super different that if I was going to take up this game, why would I just go back to Overwatch? You know what I mean? Like I feel like there's so many games. I guess I'm talking to the long-term success of it. There's so many games it's going to have to pull from that are so much better established. I don't think it's bad by any means. But I just don't see it future-wise for it because of all of that. Like, I don't think it does anything particularly, like, groundbreaking on top of all the other hero shooters that I've played. So, but I admire the ambition, like, in trying to tell the story and stuff. Like, I think it is a great idea, but I think I haven't played enough to kind of appreciate it like you, but it sounds like maybe it's trying to do too much at the same time. And as a result, they're spreading themselves too thin is what I'm trying to say. Like, I feel like the story element is maybe on the back burner when it's kind of been touted as the focus in a way. But I also think, like, once again, like, I don't think I've ever seen a game launched with this many maps and characters. That's a really solid offering. Like, it's really a solid launch roster to start with. So I think
I'm genuinely surprised like how interesting each of the characters are from like a gameplay perspective. Like I've flicked between all of them. I think every character like has its merits, and you could comfortably kind of select each character, and their arsenal is kind of varied enough that it suits kind of every sort of occasion that you'd encounter in the battlefield. Like even the sniper, like you would think, okay, there's just going to be some maps and some modes that just don't really kind of suit the sniper. But the fact that she kind of has these kind of proximity mines that you can throw mean that like you can kind of like stray into the combat a little bit, try and land some snipes. And if it starts getting a bit too close to you, you can chuck a couple of those down, back off, reposition, line up your snipes again. Like she's way more versatile than you might otherwise have a sniper class as being. And so, yeah, like I think that complements this game design where they've got this like crew bonus system. So you select one character, they apply a crew bonus, and then that crew bonus carries over to each character you select thereafter. So like say, and Brody and I talking about this before the show, you could start as like Roka or Itzy or something that has improved mobility, and that improved mobility stat would then carry over to the tank that you select next. And so rather than being as sluggish as you would expect a tank to be, they're kind of moving a little bit quicker. So that kind of gets you thinking about the order in which you're going to select characters. If you're getting destroyed by the other team, it means you get to cycle through the characters faster and pick up extra perks, which suddenly gives you a leg up in the next fight. So there's things like that I think are like quite a nice design element that you like. I've kind of been able to like really dig into it, given that I've had to spend the time with the game for review, and like I've sat with the developers and they've explained it. I don't think the game in itself does a very good job at explaining it to people. So I feel like things like this are just kind of like working against this game and not really giving it much of an opportunity to build a community and live on and really kind of explore like extra modes, which it needs, more story, which it needs, more like progression and unlocks that are kind of interest and worth like seeking out. I just worry that all of these things that could make it a far greater game than it currently is are just never really going to come to fruition by what they've decided to kind of package up and put out at launch. Shannon, you've played a little bit more though than I think Brody and James have. Does any of what I'm saying kind of resonate with you at all?
For once, yes. No, yeah. It's a tough one because I can see both sides. Like the game is fine and totally competent, but I can also understand anyone who doesn't want to give it a chance. And like it is, yeah, wrong place, wrong time for a game like this. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like even if they make it free, I just can't see this being a success story because then I don't know how they're going to make money off it. Like unless it's on the top PlayStation Plus tier.
Yeah.
I will say though, like, all of the commentary I'm seeing that is negative is not like people saying they've played it and don't like it. It's like just talking about the Steam count. Like
literally,
that's
the
only thing I'm seeing from any gamer. And it's like, okay, like you're not wrong, but like that doesn't mean anything about how the game is. Like, because that's been the narrative since like day one, and that's the narrative people have wanted.
It's so frustrating. Like, make up your own mind. Like, make a determination on well, it's hard because like you can't just go out and like spend $6 on a game and like.
No, I
get that.
I don't blame people for not paying that either as well.
Yeah.
Like that's the hard thing.
I think they should even maybe just do something with like maybe less characters available or something, like a freebie with like Killer. I know this is like random,
it goes
but like
against
Killer
what
Instinct
they wanted
did.
to do though. Like that's the
but
problem.
they have like a rotating free character every week. Do you know what I mean? So like.
I think just put it on the top PlayStation Plus. Again, I don't think you're going to like... Again, we only know Steam numbers. I don't know PlayStation numbers, but we didn't have an issue getting into games. So
no.
I don't know if that's going to be forever.
I would argue Steam for that market is also quite crowded compared to say PS5, and especially that like first party PS5 audience.
But they do need a demo. They need something like just for
something
people
to get people in. Like
yeah.
I'm surprised it doesn't have anything like that.
I reckon like it would be good for them to do like free weekends or something maybe. Like I don't know how well the PlayStation ecosystem
I just feel like
supports
people won't do that if they need to think they're going to be able to play it long term. I don't think anyone's paying $50 for this game, and I can't say I blame them. Like it's fun for a weekend. Like I don't know if I'll ever go back to it, and that's fine for me. Like but it's just not the type of game I would play for weekends after weekend after weekend after weekend. But if you're into that, I think you'd have a good time with it.
I'm interested to see what it does with like the weekly content drops. Like the character variants are kind of interesting, and that like you get the same character but a duplicate version of them that has like another bonus to it, not a crew bonus that carries over, but a specific player bonus. But you only get like, you can only unlock one of those each week, and there's a series of challenges, and I rattled through these like over the course of the weekend. So I'm kind of like at a point now, it's like I'm waiting for that next weekly drop to hit to really like have anything of interest for me to like seek out and work towards.
They've done a really good job as well. Like, I'm not the best first person shooter game in any sense. And like Overwatch, I really enjoyed. I didn't play 2, but I played the original quite a bit when it came out. But I feel like you can jump into this and like every character feels well balanced to the point that you can do well in the game, right? Like, and I think that they've done a good job. It's just, I don't know if they spent longer than they thought they were going to on this or what's happened, but it is a shame.
I think what holds it back too as well is it's probably like too much of a hero shooter to like interest your Call of Duty, Battlefield diehards, that sort of thing. But then maybe not enough and like kind of content rich enough at this stage to appeal to an Overwatch player. It kind of like sits in the middle, and that can be a really dangerous spot. But I think given the opportunity to keep going, it could turn out to be something more interesting than it is in its present form. But
I think I always think about Siege when that first came out, like I think 9 years ago, and that was like an awful launch. It was terrible. I thought that was it. Like, there was nothing, and it got a drop this week. Like, it's still going. Like, I think it's not all gone. Like, there's no the light hasn't faded.
So long as
the
like
fire
PlayStation,
is still burning.
There is still a spark there. It's
as long as
just up
PlayStation
to-
are willing to support it a little bit longer, I think. And they've got a content roadmap to April. Hopefully they stick to that, and something kind of occurs in that time to give it a bit more momentum. Like I said it in the review, but I think there's really kind of strong fundamentals here and enough kind of interesting to work off as a basis to kind of build something. I mean, Fortnite's another example. Like, when that game came out, right? Like, it was just the save the world element, and then they kind of tacked the battle royale on it, and look how much it changed. So maybe all they need to do is throw in a battle royale mode and it's happy days. Look, speaking about Steam numbers, though, that's probably a good opportunity to segue over to Black Myth Wukong, which has been breaking a ton of Steam records with a concurrent player peak at over 2.2 million, beating the likes of Power World and Counter-Strike 2 for that honor. And that's all happened kind of like in the day or two since launch as well. It's been a really rapid rise. Brody, have you played any Black Myth Wukong at all?
I've not.
Does this kind of like dramatic rise surprise you in any way?
No, I think is this the one that was one of those real first early next gen games that was shown and everyone was really high about it, and it's
like 4 years ago, I think it was kind of first revealed.
No, I think I imagine its audience is probably based on what I'd seen of its numbers, how like they went from like here to like here within a few hours. Isn't like a large part of the audience like Chinese? Yeah, obviously, because it's obviously Chinese
based on Chinese not mythology. What's the Journey to the West novel, right?
Journey to the West,
yeah.
So I mean, look, I'm not surprised. Like, I feel like it was, everyone was sort of really eager for it. It's not my type of game because it's one of these, punishing Souls-like type sort of action sort of slashes that I'm not good at. So it won't be entering my Steam basket, as it were. But I
want to know what's in your Steam basket now.
Yeah, literally.
I've got a few things in the basket. Don't worry about that. But no, look, it's good. It's pretty to look at. I really like Journey to the West and stuff, and like all the things based off of that. Obviously, like Dragon Ball, and you've got Enslaved, Odyssey to the West. Like, all these games are great, and I think it's a great basis for a story. So I would have liked to be able to play this game, but I might just have to enjoy it through streams or YouTube videos or something. But no, good on them. Good on them.
This is like a classic case of like, I see these boss fights and it looks like stunning, the visuals and the enemy design.
That's how I feel about every Souls-like game.
It's always the same.
Lies
Like,
of
fuck,
P,
I wish I could experience all of this.
I wish I could play all these games.
James, I imagine you've given it a go though, because those kind of games sometimes speak to you. Have you fired it up?
I
Is
haven't.
it in your basket? You haven't.
No, my basket is also empty at this stage, unfortunately. I don't know. It's I actually haven't heard it's that great. I think I know it looks very good. But I think a lot of people it falls apart towards the end, which is also where you weren't allowed to talk
Right.
about for reviews. So like that makes sense in a way. But yeah, I'll play it at some point. I'm also, if I'm being like completely honest, I'm like a little bit tired of Dark Soulsy games. And that's as somebody who typically really enjoys them. I loved Lies of P. Like that was the last one I really enjoyed. Besides Elden Ring DLC, obviously. So yeah, like I'm not like rushing to play this. Even Crab's Treasure, like I just played that, and the novelty of the setting got me through that. But I was kind of a bit done with it.
It feels like every game that isn't like a known AAA game is this at the moment.
Yeah, literally, like it's
I mean, Elden Ring was like one of the best-selling games in recent times, right? Like, I get it.
But this isn't Elden Ring. Like this is that's
And it's also a great selling game. So I don't.
yeah. Like I don't. Yeah. What was the point there, Ewan?
No, I'm saying like this genre like clearly appeals
It's
to people.
popular.
It has an audience,
Yeah.
and like that's why there's people leaning into it. Like
Okay, don't
I've
get mad. We're just trying to have a chat.
It seems to me that people have like enjoyed Elden Ring, looking for more. They've come off the DLC. Like I reckon that explains kind of partly why these sales are so high. Don't get me wrong. The China factor is obviously huge as well, but yeah,
I know. I'm not. It's just not. I'm not rushing to play it. Is all I'm trying to say. If that's okay with you, Ewan.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Okay.
Look,
cool.
you were the one that came after me. You were jumping
Well,
down.
everyone is. Well, I'm just. My other thing is like everybody's like, oh, look how good this game is, and then they post this like video, and it's just like a parry, like, and it's like I don't know, like I don't. Cool, like I don't.
Was it you that
clips
sent the like the chart the other day of just like rolling slop, like you're just kind of rolling through?
No,
fights?
what's that? Now I
Someone
want to
sent
see
me
that.
this meme.
I
It
want to
was great.
see this chart.
It was like all the Dark Souls and like Elden Ring games, and just like basically what people are doing for like 90%
like
of the time in the game.
Yeah. The Sekiro's like mashing L1 or something. Yeah. I've seen that. Maybe that was you. But yeah, I don't know. I will play it. I'm not in a rush to play it for the 8th time. That's my opinion on it. I would love to move on.
Shannon, I feel like I know the answer, but are you at all interested in dabbling in some Souls-like?
I remember writing about this when it was first announced, and I was really excited for it, thinking it was just like an action adventure type game. Well, my first thought was this is never going to come out, and it has. But you do keep your XP and stuff. One of your friends, Ewan, was saying, and I have heard it's not really a Souls like it is somewhere in the middle, right? But it's obviously still hard. But yeah, no, I'm kind of sick of just these games as well, in the sense that like I want to play them all because they all look great. But I just know I'm never going to bother with them.
Yeah. Well, look, as we have been speaking, Harry's actually published his review of the game. So you can try and check that on the website. But interestingly, he gave it a 7. So it looks like Concord's coming up trumps. Clearly the better of the 3 games that we've discussed today. Anyhow, we better... We better crack on. I do have a couple more topics I was eager to get to today. The next being Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. A bunch of previews dropped for the game over this past week, including some screenshots as well that we hadn't seen before. James, I suppose I should come back to you on this one first. This is one I know you're excited for, but has your excitement levels changed at all in the wake of these previews and these screenshots? Is the color temperature of the game looking any better?
True filter.
You guys, like, you're being really rude, Ewan. Like, literally, just go play some more Concord, bitch. For what it's worth, there is a filter if you want to have the old colours back, which I think I've said before.
I reckon you've willed that into existence. That's amazing.
No, I don't think I have. But anyway, it's almost like it was a common criticism, so they decided to do something about it. Anyway, I think it looks good. Looks really, really good. I don't know how, like, if it's just a 1-to-1, like, shot-for-shot remake, like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about that, because the voice work is all the same. Like, it's literally all the same. Besides the visuals, obviously. Yeah. Like, I think it looks good. I just want a date now. Like, I'm kind of sick
Yeah.
of this. Like, oh, it's this year or maybe next. Like, who knows? Like, just tell us.
Pennywise.
I don't, yeah. That's my Konami voice. But yeah. But
Brody-
you know what I mean? Like,
I get
don't
it,
know.
I get it.
I feel like all the previews. This,
Like it's September next week. Like, is it this year or is it not?
Yeah,
Like,
do you know what I mean?
Make
Like-
up your
I thought
mind.
they
And, like-
have they not confirmed to this stage it's next year?
well,
thought,
some
No, I think-
retailers have put 2025 up. Like,
It
quite
was
a
in the
few.
2024 spiel with Silent Hill. I remember that's what started everyone thinking it was this year.
But this batch of previews, like a lot of people have said 2024, and they're playing it. So like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. Like,
It's real, allegedly.
yeah.
Exists.
Well, no one played
Otherwise,
Silent
it's a
Hill
really
until a month
elaborate
before.
scheme.
So like, I don't know, man.
Brody, do you respect how much they seem to be respecting Kojima's sort of vision? Like James noted that it seems to be following very closely like how the game originally was. I think
I respect the hell out of it, Ewan. I respect the hell out of it. Yeah, no, that's great. Hats off to Konami. Yeah, I mean, you'd probably have to ask a fan more so. Like, James, what would you have actually wanted from this? You obviously probably would have wanted something more in line with, say, the Resi remakes that are more, modern in their sensibilities, or...
Sorry, I'm trying to catch my breath between chats because I'm sick. Like, and everyone keeps throwing
I'm
back
sorry.
to me, and I'm like,
I'd have been nicer to you.
no, it's all right. What do I want? Yeah, I don't know. I think in terms
Because you
of,
know what you'll be playing if it is a 1-for-1 remake. So does that
yeah,
excite you? Or...
like, yeah, a little bit, I guess. It's hard. Like with Silent Hill 2, they've recently come out and said it takes double the time to finish. And I'm like, how?
Ugh.
Like, and is that like that's not
We
better.
just slowed down
Like,
the movement speed.
yeah, I feel I feel like that game was like quite well paced. So like I'm always a bit like, ugh, do we really need this? So like, and I think with MGS3, like a lot of people have a lot of reverence for it. So I understand maybe why they don't want to change much, but I also understand it costs money to record new voice work too, which also might be a factor.
Do you think it's
But-
just that Kojima isn't involved at all? Like, do you think that's the main
What-
reason?
are
Or
they
they
gonna
don't
just-
give a shit?
No, I don't. I genuinely think it's just a mix of balancing money and fan expectation, and they've got this really nice sweet spot in the middle, right? Because like, to go back to Brody's question, like I didn't know that I wanted, say, like the expanded lab that's in RE2 or something. Like it was just a nice surprise, and I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. This works really well. And that's what kind of excites me about remakes. But this one, like, I feel like there'll be no surprises. So it's, like, hard to be excited because I'm like, oh, yeah, it'll be the same. You know, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I get it.
yeah,
But it's
there's
still
just
that game
nothing.
that scored like 95 on Metacritic or something like that. It's
Yeah.
still a
And-
classic. So
And for good reason. Like, I think it is a really good game. And it's,
I'm eager
yeah.
to play it. Like I've never got through an entire Metal Gear Solid game in my life. So unless you count
Well, hopefully
Ground
this is the
Zeroes,
one.
which is about 15
the
minutes long.
3-hour demo.
I mean, I liked like when I replayed Metal Gear Solid some years ago. Sorry, replayed it for the first time. Like I like actively sought out as authentic an experience as I could get because like I'd heard so much about like the Psycho Mantis boss fight and all of that. Like I didn't want to get some sort of modern version that had kind of lost some of the, I don't know, like the uniqueness that was kind of only available at the time. I don't know how much that necessarily carries over to Snake Eater, but I kind of hope that I do get like a pretty authentic experience as to what the people that first played the game had. And that's been my reservation about Final Fantasy VII Remake, is that they've changed it so much, which is great for...
I still think that's the worst way to do it.
Yeah, I
personally.
mean, like
as much as I like the games,
Yeah.
like I think it's like you play it and you're like, what the fuck is this? Like, and
Yeah.
even I've played them and I'm a little bit like that. So like, it's yeah. I think this is a better way to go.
Yeah.
I guess I don't you forget, like, being an old person, that, like, Metal Gear, like, a lot of people haven't really experienced these games at all, so, like, even, like, not touching them, and they were really good at the time, why take that away,
Yeah.
in a way? Yeah.
No doubt we'll have more to say when we have a release date. Maybe the Game Awards. I don't know. TGS is coming up as well. Maybe we kind of get some announcement there, but hopefully that's not
September Shadow Drop,
far
hopefully.
away. Ooh, it's just out. Wow, that'd be
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, it's snuck into our living rooms.
Well, what's certainly not shadow dropping anytime soon, or at least until its delayed release date of February 18th, 2025, is Avowed, and it emerged this week that the game will be running at 30 FPS on Xbox Series X. I know this is well-trod kind of terrain for us. We've spoken a lot about it on the podcast in the past, but obviously it was kind of news this past week, and people kind of critiquing it again. Brody, Avowed, are you at all fussy that it's going to be 30 FPS on the Xbox Series X?
No, like I mean, if they're, I don't know, I feel like I could be fast to defend them in this sense, and like sort of similar to the Starfield situation where they're like, no, we've designed it with 30 in mind, and then released a 60 FPS for patch a year later. So I mean, like, I don't know, is it that they haven't been able to optimize it to the point? I don't know, but look, I don't care, like, as long as the game is fun and it still feels okay at 30 frames, because that is possible. Games can still feel good at 30 frames per second. So I don't know, I think it's just people just want to fucking complain about things because that's what they do. So
I've since walked back my stance on this. I was a staunch defender of 60 FPS, but I will concede once you get over the initial shock and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to sit with... Okay, wow, everything's kind of playing out in slow motion in front of me right now. But once you kind of get used to it might take an hour or something, 30 FPS, you're lost in it again, you don't even notice.
Yeah, I think 30 is fine. I think you'd rather have a good 30 than some of the shit being served lately. In the same... just so many PS5, like so many next-gen games at the moment just don't do either well, I think. Yeah. Well, and they don't hit 30.
If you can't get
quality.
A constant 60... don't bother with the performance mode. Shits me.
Or if it looks like crap, like and it looks like a huge drop, like don't bother. In saying that, if I were Xbox, I'd probably be doing everything I possibly could to avoid this kind of story at the moment, just because it does seem to permeate like all of their pre-release
literally
marketing.
Every game. Like Redfall,
like just say nothing. Like don't answer. I just say nothing.
And look, both those bad boys now have a 60 FPS patch year and 2 years later. So
one of them has the studio's closed. Like I don't like it. I don't. But like
that was it.
I think that's
we all know that it takes nothing.
FPS.
Yeah, no, yeah, true. But I just
it was the start of the end for it. To be honest, like I do remember that being a big deal. Like before it came out.
I think it just like it dominates the conversation, and I know it doesn't matter. Like I have yelled at you about this many a times before in the past.
Hey,
but
I acknowledge it.
And I agree. Like I don't care, but like but I do think it's kind of
in terms of optics, it's distracting.
It's just frustrating. Like the Xbox is having these continual like.
Do we think
shit
it's Is it purely because of the Series S? Like,
I think so.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, well, I think so. Like, I
surely
reckon
it's just like, oh man, I can't. I don't want to be like that.
If they were
I think it's just it's more time.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you have to spend more time optimizing for both consoles and PC.
I'm sure it complicates optimization, but like that's got to be the factor, right? Like surely, just like given more time to
out
optimize
later
it.
on S. Like the 60 update for Starfield went out a month ago or something. You know, for S.
Not to talk too much about it, but James and I were chatting that like the PS5 Pro, like we think is going to happen this year, and I just think that's going to become even worse for Xbox. Like if
well, like
yeah.
Indiana Jones, like we said, like if you can play that on Game Pass, but also play it better on PS5 Pro, like I don't know if that's the message they want to send, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world, but I just think
you've spent so much.
Don't give people a reason to shit
no,
on
like
things.
if I recall correctly, when the Xbox Series X like was announced and came out, like it wasn't like a big piece of the marketing that it was the most powerful console. Like they
I think it is. I think it has more teraflops.
I think it still is, but then
but then it won't be as big.
Just
as
doesn't really show
Pro.
it. Yeah,
it's shackled to this small white paperweight.
I don't think it's that, and I think
chain.
like PlayStation Studios are probably a little bit ahead in terms of like optimization and working together, and they just seem to have it down.
I just feel like it's been a decade almost, and we're still having these issues. Like, I don't know.
And we'll
As
continue
and
to
that, I
have
say
them.
that as like an Xbox person, it just sucks.
I'm starting to wonder whether it was because I like the Series S in principle, and I think it's a great idea. Like it's a good entry console and all that sort of stuff. But I'm starting to wonder if the strategy was wrong because it is. Eating into their
People thought
goodwill.
that at the time.
I think the strategy would be good if they were on top from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that's a
Yeah.
cool strategy to make if you're the market leader, but not when you're like
chasing.
third behind an Android-based tablet. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, power doesn't matter. Well, that's what the Switch is, like, at the end of the day. Like, and when you, like, really...
I just never heard you describe it like that before. And it just felt so salty.
Because it annoys me. Like, it's really frustrating. Even the Baldur's Gate shit. Like, why is Black Myth not on Xbox? Like, there's just so much, like... All these big fucking games. Like, I mean, we had Power World, like, I guess, if you want to count that.
Does
but
Xbox have a stipulation that if it comes to their platform, it's got to be available on both
I think-
X and
I
S?
think
Like, is
so.
that the
Stepped
issue?
that
Yeah.
back, I think, haven't they?
I think
They
Recently?
walked that
no, I
back
think
for
that's-
Baldur's Gate, I thought.
I thought they stepped back that, like... So, like,
Yes,
there's no
that was
split... There's no
feature
split
parity.
screen. Yeah, there's no split screen on Series S.
Yes.
Because that was what was stopping it.
I think that was a talking point around the whole thing, though, right? There was this expectation of, like,
Yeah.
parody. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyhow. The Nintendo Switch can play many wonderful games, including an upcoming PlayStation first-party studio release. That is, of course, LEGO Horizon Adventures, which appears to have had its release date leaked according to the PlayStation website, so pretty confirmed. And that looks to be coming November 14th for PS5, PC, and, of course, the Nintendo Switch.
Happy birthday.
November 14th? Whose birthday is that?
That's me.
Oh, it's your birthday,
big.
Brody.
You in?
Ah.
Wow.
Name my kids. Name my kids right now.
Mate. You're lucky
Wendy
I remember
and
your
Daryl.
first name, Brody.
Daryl. Dazza, I call him. Daz.
They sound like Walking Dead characters.
They probably are. One is for sure.
Back to LEGO Horizon Adventures, November 14th. Are you playing it? And if so, what platform? Brody.
Is this a... Sorry, is this the
Rapid fire. This is
Okay.
the rapid fire, yeah.
Yes, I suppose. And I'll play it on PlayStation, I think.
Yeah. Same here. Shannon?
I'm gonna say PS5 Pro. This is gonna be a PS5 Pro launch title, and that's where
This
I
isn't
have
our
to be playing
prediction,
it.
Shannon.
I did. I had to just one up everyone. Or the Nintendo Switch 2 non-Android edition.
James, are you going to be repping the Switch then? The Android tablet?
Can I
The
say no?
Android tablet.
I don't want to play either.
You don't have to play it. No.
I'm gonna be busy. There's gonna be like Slitterhead and
Metal Gear
Assassins,
Solid, maybe.
maybe Metal Gear, the
Assassins.
shadow drop
Good
of that. Yeah, I don't know. Genshin Impact on Xbox. No, I don't. Yeah,
LEGO Horizon Adventures is one of the few games that my girlfriend has taken interest in, so I reckon that's going to be a cute date night game.
okay.
We'll see.
Thanks for that.
Get your mum over, make it a party.
No,
Congratulations.
she would love it, actually.
I think it's great. Just quickly, I think it's great. This has online. Well, wait,
Yes.
does it? Have I? Yeah, it does, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
got online co-op.
I think between this and like the Funko Pop game having online, like Lego needs to get this. I was gonna say Lego needs to get their shit together, but one of them is Lego. But like,
Look, I was going to look up the online multiplayer thing, but I do need to host What the Wiki, which is the Press Start podcast
You
game
do.
show, where the previous week's winner reads part of a Wikipedia page for an unknown game, and we, the contestants, must guess the game. A point is awarded for each correct guess, with a round concluding after someone's bagged themselves 2 points. Last week, that was me. So Shannon and I helping close the gap to James somewhat. James, you are still comfortably in first place on 28 points. Shannon and myself are tied in second on 24. Brody, you're in third with 17. Kieran's on 10 and Harry is on 5. So yeah, Shannon, a clean sweep here would be really good for you. Although in
Make it
hindsight, I
happen.
probably did not gear the games in your favor,
Oh my God,
regrettably.
honestly.
Oh, good.
All right, contestants, are we ready?
Yep.
Excellent.
yeah,
I'm very excited now.
In the game, players control an imp, which is used to interact with the game's world and interface like a mouse cursor.
Brody.
Create new art, Brody.
Is it Overlord?
It's not Overlord. No.
Is that a game?
Interface
is.
like a mouse cursor, create new items and characters and manipulate objects by grabbing and pulling them. Players can move the imp with one of two control schemes, moving and rotating the DualShock 4 or PlayStation Move controllers, or using the left and right analog sticks. The imp is customizable and can possess characters featured in a dream, allowing players to take direct
These
control
slop
of these characters. The game is a game creation system video game. Players can create and play user-generated content in the form of games, audiovisual experiences, and game assets. Shannon.
No.
Brody.
Is it Dreams?
It is Dreams. Well done, Shannon.
Wow.
He's
I
off
didn't know
the
that had an
mark.
imp
Maybe a
involved.
clean sweep.
Yeah, neither did I.
is
I take back
possible.
my slop comment. Dreams was good.
Rip Media Molecule.
Well, maybe you're picking up on the thread.
The molecule has split.
The game is described as a hero shooter, primarily a first-person shooter, incorporating multiplayer online battle arena elements, or MOBA. In any of the game's modes, the player selects from one of several predefined hero characters that they have available, each with their own unique attributes, attacks, powers, and skills, which can include casting magic and area of effect attacks. During character selection, the player also selects a loadout that can have up to 3 pieces of gear to bring into a match earned from previous matches. Each piece requires a number of shards, in-game currency collected during a match, to activate during a match, and once activated, stay active for the remainder of the match. The equipment can boost or detract from base attributes or give additional benefits to the character. Shards can also be used to activate special turrets on maps to strategically defend points. The game was a free-to-play, first-person shooter video game developed by Gearbox Software and published
Shannon.
by...
It's
Shannon?
it's no. It's
James.
Battleborn.
It is Battleborn, Shannon! He's done the clean sweep!
I was gonna say that
No
2
way!
seconds in. We love that. We love that.
So with that, Shannon climbs up to 27 points, just 1 point behind James.
Wow.
You know what to do next week, Shannon.
Yeah, literally. Let's get an 8-person podcast going.
With that, let's bring an end to what was this week's episode of the Press Start podcast. Subscribe to us on Listener or the podcast service of your choice. Follow us at Press.au and visit the website at pressstart.com.au. We've been joined today by James.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at JamesATJMZ.
Can you just stay sick, James, for the next month?
Yeah, I probably will. At this stage.
Joining us today as well, it was Brody.
Thank you. You can follow me on most things at Brody_DG.
How's the wind holding up, Brody? I was worried we were going to lose you
I
halfway
did
through
hear
the
a
podcast.
very loud bang before, so hopefully the house is still there when I go out.
All right, fingers crossed. And last but not least, clean sweeping, it was Shannon.
Yeah, you can follow me at Shannon Grixie on everything. Send me a congrats.
And I've been your host, Ewan. You can follow me on socials at Ewan_Roxborough. Thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, happy gaming.
Bye.
Bye.
Battleborn was a good pull. That's a good
In
pull.
my head, I thought it was a third person. That's why I wasn't going to say it
I thought it
for
was
some
too.
reason.
I did not play that slop.
I
at
think
all.
I'm thinking of another
reviewed
game that
back in the
2K.
day. Would you believe?
What was the other?
What did
There
I
was
give
another
that
2K
game?
shooter.
Borderlands.
No, it's like an online.
No, it was literally everyone got.
Or is it
confused with
Battleborn?
Okay, don't worry. You're not gonna listen.
What did I give Battleborn? I gave it a 6. Well, Concord's things are looking up.
Still on top.